Hello and welcome back. Has anybody else been experiencing this heaviness? Like we're transitioning, being tested, challenged, irritable, easier to get angry, which is irritable. So what does one do during these times? Because it feels as though this would be a very simple transition into a more negative state of being. Almost as though putting on an old pair of shoes. One thing comes to mind, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And another thing comes to mind, all things shall pass, positive or negative. So when we imagine that our journey is going to be always forward, constantly moving forward, hoping it never falls back, that very hoping to never fall back can be your trigger, which sets you back another step further. So when you notice yourself taking a step back, don't just set yourself up to take 2 steps back when you took 2 steps forward. Things will be as they will be. So if you've also been feeling this challenging time, it's felt to me as though a lot of old mind patterns are screaming, coming to the surface. When you have a pond, a small pond, and the water is clear, if you take your hand and you move it to the bottom and you vigorously shake the earth at the bottom of that pond, it's going to surface. And in those moments, in those times, all a person can do is just be patient, knowing the water and all the dust will settle again. But it's not simply a time to just watch. There's also opportunity. As that mud lifts, a person can scoop some of the mud up, lift it up and allow the water to fall out, and there's going to be some dirt in your hands, and you can remove some of that dirt from the pond. If you're using a pond as an example, the amount of dirt you lift is endless. So one can remove some of that dirt from the surface as it rises, but one also needs to realize that oftentimes there's going to be layers and layers upon layers, and that if you remove something else will arise as well. So to expect the unexpected, knowing that there's a balance in life, and that in your life, you may have noticed this, if you try to remove what you consider to be your negative qualities in life, that once one negative aspect leaves you, let's say you quit smoking, all of a sudden you start eating more. Let's say you get your eating under control, next thing you know you're more irritable and you fight with people more often or whatever. It seems as though every human body, every human has a equilibrium of positive and negative traits. And it's only through human need to categorize things as right and wrong that it sees something as this needs to be gone. And in my experience, I'm only 41, maybe it'll change, I don't know. But in my experience, the more I try to remove negatives, when I think of this small little, each negative as this is a negative and this is a negative, and all those little things that I do that might be negative, the more I remove them, a new one comes in its place. So it seems as though there's a balance in a person's life. And I've noticed this not only in my life, you can see this in other people, that same pattern as well. So when you hear stuff like, love your darkness, when you can merge your light and your dark, you become whole. When you hear stuff like that, that really rings true and is a very powerful truth to what it is that I'm talking about right now, in this very moment, talking about how you have a certain amount of negative and positive, that the balance between the two doesn't necessarily need to be changed. But something strange happens when you can accept your own negativity and positivity, and you stop the struggle of trying to change all of it, or at least you can minimize or learn to look past lots of it. You transcend the two of them. A part of you moves beyond it so that you can notice the dirt is now, you can't see the bottom of the pond anymore, and it doesn't have an effect to make you lean into a negative state nearly as much. Do you see? Because you can be pulled by what you consider to be very positive or very negative. And this is your well-being, your state of mind, your center. And when you are not centered anymore, even though this is arising in your awareness, it doesn't necessarily need to have the ability to have you lose yourself in it. I'm realizing that in life, it's not about getting rid of your negative qualities, but it's about transcending them, and realize that life is not about being really good and not being really bad. It's about not being lost in your negativity or not being lost in your positivity, and remaining centered, as Buddha said, the middle way. Buddha called this the middle way. Because there's two layers to it. If you are pulled into your negative, then it's almost as though you have a double negative. When you are centered and you can just allow the negative to be, then you don't have this inner struggle in your mind, in your being, saying, I don't want this, how can I change this? That whole anxiety that is generated from the not wanting of this is gone then. And then while you notice the negative in your perception, you are anxiety free, you are free from the pull and the extreme heaviness. You're not doubly negative. You can feel the negativity, but you're still centered. In the same way that you watch a character in your favorite drama who may have lost a family member, and you can recognize he's sad, and you can feel sympathy towards that person, and you can feel compassion, and you can feel whatever it is you feel. You feel sorry for the person, a bit of empathy. You wish that they wouldn't feel that, but you understand that it's a part of a natural cycle of growth, and these things happen. And when you're in this centered point, these types of realizations, and you are more likely to be in your experience as well as this. So you're left with a sense of peace as well. You're left with a sense of peace in you, and even though there's negativity in you, you can still feel peaceful. You're not drawn in so deeply that it is overwhelming. And I believe that is the point of, not really the point, how can I say this? I believe in life that when we focus too much on not wanting the negativity, that is the very thing that makes our lives now unlivable, that makes ourselves fall deeper into depression, to have the anxiety and all of these things that make life feel unbearable. realizing that when a storm comes, the water is going to stir and some of that mud is going to lift. And not necessarily needing to remove the mud, knowing that there's more underneath, but to transcend that whole struggle. Easier said than done, maybe. But in my experience has been extremely, extremely liberating for me. As a matter of fact, I am extremely, extremely grateful for having realized what I'm talking about inside myself. Extremely grateful. So allow it. When you give yourself an inner yes to your perception of the negativity that arises in these types of moments, when you just say it's okay to be there, then you stop fighting with it. And I've realized that the fighting with your negativity is a layer of negativity that is absolutely not necessary and is the cause of much of the depression, anxiety, feelings of overwhelming despair in our lives. Once that is gone, the negativity can be there without the heaviness. It's like walking through mud without a 100-pound backpack. Do you want to take off that 100-pound weight knowing you still have to walk through the mud? To me, that makes sense. So why add something on top of an already negative experience? So I leave you with that. Wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Find reasons to be grateful. It helps. Peace.